It's Members' Day on Sunday at Sha Tin with an 11-race programme, 9 on the turf, 2 on the all-weather, a Griffin race as well with a number of interesting first starters. A very warm welcome to Racing's Win. I'm Andrew Lejeune, joined here in the studio by Paul Alley, our former analyst, and race caller Brett Davis as well. Brett, there's a lot of news and jockeys to talk about, but let's start off with the horses. Interesting one for Tony Cruz, Stimulation by Deep Impact. Yeah, good to have some of his progeny here in Hong Kong, no doubt about that. The colours are synonymous to victories, really, here in Hong Kong. Those famous colours had their 100th win not that long ago. So it'll be interesting to see how he fronts up. We'll get the late mail, so to speak, from the man to my left shortly on how he's going in track, where I've got him in for third. Very interesting runner. There's a few on the card. And as you say, this is not racing to win, this is racing news in Hong Kong almost, isn't it, really? It certainly is. Yeah, that race will come up early as well. It's Class 2 is race number 4. Loads of first starters, Paul. Jackpots on the weekend?
No jackpots. All the money's been won leading into this particular race meeting, so maybe we'll make a few more. But there's plenty of... obviously, the pools are so big that there's plenty of money in there and plenty of opportunities to make a bit. And these first starters, there's a few interesting ones there, as you mentioned. Just a reminder, Andrew, 11 races, so all the exotics, if you're playing the TT, six-ups and so forth, they are back one race with the 11-race card, and Griffin, obviously. All right, and the licensing committee met this week to discuss and work out the licences for next season. These are the jockeys be getting a part season licence. Sam Clifford and Callum Murray's been here before, Alberto Sanna. Grant van Niekerk, a new jockey, certainly to Hong Kong. We'll have seen a bit of him because he's won a couple of simulcast races, the Sun Met and the Will Avington, just a week or so ago. Yeah, he's ridden 10 Group 1 winners, 28 years of age, I think he is, and he's no doubt very excited to come along with Callum Murray, who's already been here. Both will make the travel from South Africa. Alberto Sanna, good to see him get another licence because he's had an outstanding season. Sam Clipperton and Alexi Bedell from the 1st of November to the 17th of February, which is, of course, pretty much general for Alexi. That's when he sort of bobs in and bobs out. And Jimmy Ting, new trainer as well, was assistant to Danny Shum. Danny Shum, yeah. Previously. Yeah, he's been assistant to Brian Kahn, or was apprenticed to Brian Kahn as a rider, actually, many, many years ago in the early 90s too. He's worked with a lot of people in the industry, over 30 years of experience, so well done to him. What that graphic didn't show, Paul, was the jockeys that are leaving. One being Tommy Barry, after just a season here. It's family reasons he wants to go back to Australia. And the other one, of course, being Joe Moreira. Yeah, and Joe Moreira, of course, he's off to Japan, or he's hoping to go to Japan. He still has to pass a few exams and whatnot to get there, and he's going to try his luck up there, so good luck to Joe. As you mentioned, Tommy there, and a few of the old school ones won't be there as well, Livy Deleuze and also Brett Preble. So a bit of a change there, and a couple of those young South Africans coming through who are very good riders. So the landscape's changing a bit. It is, yeah. Yeah, there'll be plenty of chatter, I would imagine, over the next few days, and we'll chat more on trackside on Sunday with regards to all of those decisions from various people. But, yeah, as Paul said, a bit of a change in the landscape. So interesting to see how it all unfolds. However, still a decent battle going on this season. It certainly is, yeah. Joe sits out this weekend, of course, the second of his 2-meeting suspension. Still leads the championship race, though, by 1. Zach Purton has 10 rides, though, coming up this weekend to try and put some space between himself and Moreira. These are the scratchings on the weekend. Race 5, number 7, E Master, and race 10, number 4, Beauty Day. And also in the 10th, Pearl Champion is out, replaced by Captain Boss. Caris Teeton will be in the saddle there. All right, we kick off the 11-race programme with a Griffin race, I mentioned before, 9 on the turf, C course, and then 2 on the all-weather races 2 and number 7. So the Griffins, 1,000 metres, we've got 7 of them, 2 3-year-olds and 5 2-year-olds. Bella Baby's on debut. Supermodel 1 starts, was behind Romantic Bonanza on debut. Quadruple Double, run up on both of his starts so far behind Starling City. Savvy 7 was last on his debut behind Starling City. Strathellas had 1 start. Thanks Forever and Touchdown Striker are also on debut. They are the 2-year-olds, or 2 of them. Yeah, that was an unacceptable performance from Savvy 7 on debut, but there's quite a lot of pace here with these young horses. The only one that looks like it hasn't got a lot of pace is Thanks Forever, who's been slow in both his trials, but there's expected pace from the other 6. So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. I do think Supermodel Quadruple Double will end up sitting 1-2. Here is Supermodel. He's back to 1,000 metres. He did debut over the longer trip of 1,200 metres. get the £10 off. They're putting the cross noseband on for the first time as well, and Victor Wong getting a feel for the horse in the back straight. He will be riding it on race day. Zach Purden on quadruple double. Now, he did ride Supermodel last start, but and he rode this one last time too, quadruple double, but he's sticking with quadruple double. And as Brett said, he's likely to go forward from his piece of work. And here's one of the first starters, Touchdown Striker. Thought I'd show one of the first ones here. Sam Clipping aboard. Seems to be getting through this piece of work okay. There was a bit of rain around this morning, so it's a little bit tricky to say, but he wasn't fully let go there.
It's been a very wet week, hasn't it? But hopefully we are clear of that now. All right, let's start off with quadruple double, our likely favourite and jockey, Zach Purden.
Zach, quadruple double. He's gone close at his first 2 starts. What do you make of his chances for Sunday?
He should have a good chance. It's only a small field and he's had a couple of starts now, so he knows what he's doing. And I worked him down the back on Thursday morning and he seemed to handle wet conditions well. So if it happens to be wet, I think he'll handle that.
He's had a month between runs. How's he feeling?
He's fine, yeah. Obviously the program didn't allow for a run in between and I don't think it's a problem. He's only a small horse. He's had a trial in between. So he's fine.
You rode Supermodel in the last Griffin race. How would you compare the two?
I thought Supermodel was a very natural, athletic horse. I was disappointed in his first up effort, but I feel like he's got a breathing problem. I know they scoped him and said that he was fine, but under pressure he gave me nothing and pulled up making a lot of noise. So I know they put the crossover on him to try and fix that, but. You know, prior to his last start, if you had asked me to pick one, I would have said Supermodel was the best one. But if they can't breathe, it doesn't matter how naturally gifted they are.
The big news story here in Hong Kong is that Joe Moreira is leaving at the end of this season. What was your reaction to that news?
Yeah, I knew it was coming. Joe and I, we've had plenty of discussions about it in the jockeys' room for a while now, and. He's always wanted to go and ride in Japan. I did think he'd probably do one more season, but I think the way things have gone towards the back end of this season, he sort of just felt like the time was right for him to move on. So I wish him well. I'm actually a little bit sad that he's going. You know, I've enjoyed the competition, and it's going to be different without him there.
How will it change things?
It'll give everyone else the belief that they've got a chance to fight for the championship. So. I'm going to have a lot of competition next season, and you know I enjoy that, and you know I think competition is good. Definitely, it's going to be competitive like it is every year.
Zach will obviously be favourites in many eyes for next year's title, but there's a lot of winners to be shared around, and he can't do the lightweights either.
We were talking about it just having lunch, Andrew. The key will be probably who John Size utilises the most with regards to jockeys, because we know how many winners Joe's ridden for John this season. So Zach generally hasn't ridden a lot for John. So there'll be some proof in the pudding in that respect when it all unfolds.
Yeah, he's right. The competition's good, and you sort of have a yin and yang when you're fighting against each other for premierships like that. So I think Joe will be missed, and obviously in that regard by Zach. I saw a taxi in the background there in the interview. I wonder if he'd called it for Joe just to make sure he gets to the airport, though. So we'll see what happens next season, though.
All right, more of that later on. So that was Zach, and here's Zach again on Supermodel. So saying you think he had a bit of a breathing issue on this occasion, but loads of early speed. They come back in trip and take £10 off as well. Yeah,
that's the key. Look, I was a bit worried after reading about this breathing problem. So I've only got him in for second. I think the 1,000 metres will help him back in trip, but I'll be very wary of him, and I'll be watching him closely.
Look, it's always a concern, as Zach said, when you can't breathe properly, you can't get 100% out of yourself, or the animal can't do the same. So it's a concern. But back to 1,000, £10 off. There's a couple of little positives there, and you're going to get a price about it as opposed to, what, $1.50 for quadruple double. So I'll take a little chance, but I think the 2 and 3 will control the race.
Yeah, that's definitely the cue, isn't it? Well, on paper it appears to be. Let's have a look. Yeah. A couple of the first stars, along with quadruple double. Touchdown Striker, the 2-year-old by Turf Fontaine, and Bella Baby, a 3-year-old through the ISG sale. Yeah,
Bella Baby won a trial under Eddie Lai back in one of his first ever trials, and then finished 9th under the guidance of Joe Moreira. who obviously will not be riding at the meeting. He's another 3-year-old ISG, as is Supermodel, and the rest are 2-year-olds. So of the newcomers, I'm going to give Bella Baby a little bit of a chance, and I'll be giving Strathallan another chance as well. Savvy 7 was beaten a long way here, but has gone back to the trials, obviously, to you know, wash away that unacceptable performance.
Yeah, that's Thanks Forever, the other one, Paul, the 2-year-old by Dewporth.
Yeah, you can see him there at the back, and Savvy 7, who's out in front, actually wins this 800-metre trial, and Thanks Forever running fourth or fifth with this one. So, look, he was disappointing on debut, though, there's no question about it.
All right, but quadruple double at this stage, 2's on favourite. Where do you go?
Yeah, I'm going to go with him. I just think he's the most likely winner of the race. He's 2 starts, 2 seconds. There's no Styling City in this race. Second, Supermodel, Bella Baby, the best of the newcomers, and Strathallan in there for 4. So went 3, 2, 1 and 5, but exotics 1, 2, 3.
Yep, similar. Just switching the first place around, but it could easily go the way Paul's suggested. 2 Supermodel, 3 quadruple double, Bella Baby, and Strathallan 2, 3, 1, 5. But I think the Q 2 and 3 is the go in the first.
All right, yeah, 2 for me as well. Supermodel gave £9 to that winner on debut. It's getting weight off a 2-year-old here, second up.